On this episode of Still Loading. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of the Still Loading podcast. I'm your host, Josh Koval, and today on the show, it is a nostalgia-filled episode. That is right. We are talking about the Three Ninjas movies, specifically Three Ninjas Kick Back. But with me, the only guests I could have had for this episode, my two brothers, Matt.
Hello.
And Mike.
Hiya.
The three of us grew up loving these movies to death. We watched them probably so much so that our parents hate us for it.
Yes.
I don't blame them.
Yeah,
We made mistakes. Watching these movies was one of them.
that's a hard disagree.
I'm not being serious.
Were you? No. These movies were. There's something. There was
They're
something.
so bad, they're great.
Yes. Though I will say the movie we're going to be focusing on today is honestly, I think, the better of them.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched the others, but when watching this one recently, it's like there's stuff here. There's some
passes.
substance here.
Yeah, there's
On a very low bar, it passes.
yeah, and actually I did look up. I'm going to have to look it up on my phone while we are talking, but I was surprised by what some of the people who worked on this movie went on to do, but we'll get into that. So the Three Ninjas movies, for those who don't know, they are centered around three brothers, Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum. Also, but that's their ninja names, which are the dumbest ninja. Let's be honest, they are the dumbest ninja names in the world.
I don't know, Rocky's not too bad.
As a ninja, I would say the best ninja name out of all of them is Colt.
Well, see, with Rocky and Colt, at least both of those have some kind of...
Yeah.
There's something behind it.
Yeah.
There's other symbolism to it, but
Yeah.
Tum Tum's like, oh, he likes food. Isn't that funny? Tum Tum!
Yeah,
Fuck out of here, man.
it's not great. It's not great. So there's a total of 4 Three Ninjas movies. Go figure. One more than the number of ninjas.
4 strands of rope.
Yeah, 4 strands of rope, one for each of the strands of rope. That's a theme throughout all of these films. The only actor to appear in all 4 of these is Victor Wong. Rest in peace, buddy, because he was an amazing actor.
He's really good.
I like him the most in Three Ninjas because of nostalgia, but probably his other famous role was he was in Big Trouble in Little China.
That's right. Yep.
I've not seen that.
It's a movie. But the Three Ninjas' real names are Rocky's real name is Samuel.
Yeah.
Colt's real name is Jeffrey, and then Tum Tum's real name is Michael.
Right.
Oh, go figure. Now, the reason why we chose this for this time, or the reason why we chose these movies for we're recording this right now is we're recording this literally, actually it's May 1st, just put a specific day on this, about 3 weeks or so prior, or maybe not 3 weeks, but it was within April. A childhood friend of ours named Mike, I won't say the last name, but also named Mike.
This
A lot of Mikes, yeah, right? Passed away when we were very young. I was in 6th grade. You were in 4th or 3rd.
Oh yeah, I was.
You
little,
barely remembered him. I don't think you knew him all that well.
I
you
did
were
know
so
him.
young.
He did make an impression on me.
I like how I'm saying
4.
you, and the audience has no idea. I keep forgetting this is not a visual medium.
There's 3 of us.
There's 3 for the Three Ninjas.
For the Three Ninjas.
Totally planned that. I actually know what the worst part is. I did not think of that parallel till just now. And I'm like, that's kind of the same. But so he passed away in April, a good number of years ago now. It's been over 20 now, I think. And he
21 probably, because I think I was 4 when he passed away.
Something like that. So he introduced us to these movies.
Yeah.
I always think it's weird. He babysat us one time.
Yeah.
And I think I think you would have been. I mean, actually, yeah, you would have had to have been born because there's no way. He was only 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
That's insane that they let him babysit
And
us.
we thought he was so much older.
I know he was very mature for his
really
age,
was.
from what I remember.
Yeah.
But so Mike was a really special friend to all of us, and like when he died, it was very sudden.
Well, and he helped us get into hockey, Dragon Ball
Yes.
Z, like half the things that our childhood was,
I still
was
have
based on.
I have emails from him. I don't think I have them anymore, but I had emails from him of him helping me with Zelda Ocarina of Time, like trying to, because I didn't understand how to beat the Dodongos. You know, you have to run around, hit them in the tail, and then they spin around and breathe fire. I had no idea how to do that. I was so confused by it. So he taught me. He would help me out with that, and so I that's another big memory. But he introduced these movies to us, and these movies, we just fell in love with them. We were obsessed is too light of a term for how much we love these movies.
We had to watch each movie a bare minimum of 3 times, with the exception of High Noon.
Oh no, I've watched that movie more than 3 times.
gosh,
I've
me
watched
too.
all of them.
Okay, everyone except me has watched everything except High Noon at least 3 times.
I've probably watched all these an unhealthy amount of times, to say the least.
And that's one thing I remember, we would rent them from the library oftentimes.
We also rented them from Blockbuster when that was
Yeah.
too.
When that was a thing.
When that was still a thing. So we're only going to be focusing on Three Ninjas Kickback because that's the only Three Ninjas game that ever came out. As far as I know, listeners, if you know of another Three Ninjas video game, let me know. But
We'll do
we're
another
going
podcast.
Yeah. Wait, what? Sorry.
We'll do another podcast.
We'll do another podcast then. But we are going to kind of talk nebulously about the 3 other films, and then we're going to really dive into Three Ninjas Kickback. The order of release for these movies actually is a little bit confusing to me.
It messed me up, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Three Ninjas is the first one, of course, 1992.
Easy.
Now, for years, I thought Kickback was the sequel. And then there's another. So the 4 movies, we'll just list them all real quick in the actual order they were released in, and then I'll explain why what the order we thought they were in, and why we were there confused. So the actual order is Three Ninjas, then Three Ninjas Knuckle Up, then Three Ninjas Kickback, and then Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. The order we thought they were in was that Knuckle Up and Kickback were switched. We thought it was Three Ninjas, then Kickback, then Knuckle Up, and then High Noon at Mega Mountain. And the reason for that is because Knuckle Up was released in 1993 in South Korea, but didn't get published and come over to the US until 1995. So when we were kids looking at the copyright on the back of the VHS tapes, we were like, oh, so this is the 3rd one. Why did they switch back to the old actors?
Well, see, now funny, I'm having a different memory here because in my head, I always knew that Knuckle Up took place second.
That makes sense.
And I only realized now that Kickback came out in America first.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. So I'm
That's the
curious
same with me, actually.
if you picked up on the release date and I just didn't, you know?
Yeah,
For me, it makes sense if I didn't
I just looked at the copyright symbols because I wanted to know what order they were in when I
Right.
was younger. Now, it makes sense why you would think that because the actors for
you see the
Rocky, Cold, and
progression.
Tum Tum are the same actors in the original and in Knuckle Up.
Yep.
Then they get rid of the actor for Rocky and Tum Tum and bring 2 new ones, and Colt stays the same for
Right.
Kickback. He's the only ninja to appear in the first 3. And then in the 4th one, High Noon at Mega Mountain, it's all new kids. They look nothing. I think it's the same mom and dad still. I don't
I think
remember.
so.
No, it couldn't have been because the mom and dad don't really appear in Knuckle Up. So now I'm curious, but we'll look into that.
Well, and the actor who replaced Rocky in Kickback, I googled him the other day.
He's like a professor now or some shit.
See, there's another actor.
Professor and Ninja
Let's see,
Kicking.
there's another actor, roughly what his age would be now, that has his same name. And I clicked on his Instagram thinking it was him. I was like, oh, wow, he's still working. Good for him. And I look at his Instagram story highlights, and the one had a big picture of the actor with like saying like not me or whatever.
Oh,
and he has
man.
a whole highlight of like people think this guy is me. this isn't even my actor name. There was no one else with this name in SAG in the union, so I switched my middle and first name or whatever, thinking there was no one else going by this. And little did he know,
so
There was
funny.
one guy back in the 90s who did like 3 movies.
yeah,
That's
If
so
that.
funny.
And is now professional.
Okay, so I did just look this up, by the way. The mom and the dad are in this movie. The same mom and dad who plays the mom and dad of the boys in the original Three Ninjas.
Okay.
So they just don't show up. They never appear in Knuckle Up, and I don't know
Right.
why.
I guess just the story they had didn't call for the mom and dad.
The story they had,
it was so dumb.
it's
Knuckle Up.
Knuckle Up has some questionable things. It's so the whole series, looking at it from a modern lens, there's a bizarre combination of being the most culturally insensitive and also surprisingly inclusive at the same time. Like inclusive for the 90s,
Yeah.
and also surprising because they would hire so. Let's break this down.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on all the movies except for Kickback because that's the one with the games.
Right. Yeah.
The original Three Ninjas movie, the whole premise is that the 3 boys learn ninjutsu from their Japanese grandfather, which the lineage of this family has never made any fucking sense to me.
Well, see,
I mean,
here's the thing.
So their grandfather, who is Japanese, Mori Shintaro, played by Victor Wong,
Right.
he married a white woman,
Yeah.
and had a daughter named Jessica, who married a white man, but she looks like there is no Asian in her at all.
There's no
Yeah.
mix.
There's no mix at all. So it's like they just whitewashed her role. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah.
But so they learn ninjutsu at their Japanese grandfather's cabin, and
Yeah.
every summer, and that's where they learn to fight. And in the first movie, the whole premise of it is that their dad works for the FBI, and this criminal he's trying to capture finds out about his kids, and he goes to capture their kids, capture the 3 ninjas, and so they have to fight their way out. And that's pretty much the premise of the
It's
movie.
Home Alone with ninjas.
Literally, the advertising on the box was
say.
Home Alone meets Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That was the advertising.
And it's true because when
It's accurate description. That's exactly what it is.
in the first movie, he sends kind of, and it's kind of a repeat for Kickback. They send 3 bozos, like 3 dumb kidnappers, which is a weird sentence to say in regards to a kids movie.
Yeah.
But
3 dumb kidnappers.
3 dumb kidnappers to kidnap the kids. And they
In the first movie, for some reason, they all go like, "Yeah, dude,
have like Surfer Bro. They're like Surfer Bros pretty much.
Yep.
dude,"
They're
and they can't count.
They can't, and they're pretty much Surfer Bros, and I mean that's pretty much all there is to in terms of the plot, unless we break it down scene by scene, which we can't do right now. But some of the things that it kind of like the reason that we got hooked on it after seeing that movie is just because it's. I guess I don't know if it's a weird power fantasy for a kid to be able to beat the shit out of adults. But
Oh, yeah.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
Like,
And these movies gave me such delusions of what I was able to do as a child.
Yeah.
Like I thought I could take on the fucking world.
if only we could learn ninjutsu from our Japanese grandfather.
Then we kick bad guys' butts
and
all the
then-
time.
Then, at church afterwards, I'd be playing with all the big kids and we'd pretend fight and they would play along. So here I thought I actually kicked their asses.
I did not know this.
Oh yeah. So
we
like
just go, "Hey yeah, hey yeah."
so
Oh my
That's
god.
that's the sound effects they
So
do.
between that-
ninjas, known for their loud screaming.
yeah. So between that and the movie.
Yeah,
Oh my god. It's so ridiculous. So then they I guess it's just a power fantasy for kids,
sure.
you just want to learn, you just want to beat the shit out of adults. Now, what's interesting is the first movie is honestly as dumb as it is, there's still some pretty good moments. I love the actor who plays Snyder, who's the villain of it. He's so
eating
over
it
the
up.
top. He's
I
just
love it.
eating the
Just like-
scenery, chewing the scenery, excuse me. Kids, I want them found now, or I'll tear out your liver. Like there's so many good lines. Not really.
they're
That
bad,
line,
they're so bad they're good.
But then his henchman's face after he says that, he goes, "I understand." He's so nervous about. So that, they get captured. Their grandpa helps rescue them. He has a one-on-one duel with Snyder, and it's a staple of these movies that Grandpa does a lot of his own, quote unquote, a lot of his own stunts. It's clearly just a martial artist in a fat suit.
Oh,
like
yeah.
every single, as a kid, it didn't register with me.
Yeah.
I was like, there was a juxtaposition. I was like, wow, he's surprisingly agile. Like as a kid, I just I noticed the juxtaposition, but I believed it still.
Yeah, same.
I didn't.
I
totally thought, like, yeah, this guy's totally doing that.
Well, no, I did too. Is what I'm saying.
That's
Like
what I'm saying.
we believed it. What we're saying
it sounded like you're saying, like you could kind of see there was a difference, but you didn't really notice it.
I noticed a difference in like it, not visually, but in terms of like Grandpa looks really old, and I'm in shock he can move as well as he can. Like it wasn't necessarily like I totally bought the fake of the look. The makeup they did on the actor, because you can't see their face. They just kind of like a fake wig on and then a little bit of like a fake belly to kind of show that it's Grandpa. That sold me, but I remember being very confused of like, wow, Grandpa can move really well. That doesn't seem possible. Like I questioned the possibility, or like how possible was a man of Grandpa's age could move as well as the stunt double did.
Yeah.
But I still believed it.
Yeah, it's like seeing something impossible, and instead of thinking, well, that can happen, is like, no way, that's awesome.
Exactly.
And for me, I didn't even realize that didn't even register as impossible. I was like, oh, that's cool. Didn't even cross my mind.
So
that's
Grandpa,
like, how's a grandfather moving like this?
I mean, I believed it. I shouldn't have, but I believed it.
Yeah.
So Grandpa rescues the boys, and he goes into a one-on-one duel with Snyder, which is where, like, the reason I brought up the stunt grandpa.
Right.
I'm going to call that out in the movie a lot. Every time stunt grandpa shows up. So that's pretty much the first movie. The second movie, Knuckle Up, which once again I thought was the third one, but it was actually the second. Same actors. You never see the parents though, and they're spending the summer with their grandfather doing ninjutsu training. But the movie opens with them showing up at a protest by Native Americans at a waste management site, because the whole premise of Knuckle Up is that this evil waste management company is poisoning the land and killing. Like the poison is literally making people sick and dying and killing people, and they're protesting it. Knuckle Up, and we're going to talk about it even more so with Kickback. This is where I start noticing big names in the Three Ninjas movies. Like the first one, I don't think any of the guys really went on to do something crazy. Alan McRae, who's the dad, and I can't remember the actress's name who plays the mom, but Jessica's her character's name. I can't remember. They've gone. He seems familiar.
I mean, they've worked, but like not.
The bad guy
I think from what I know, the director went on to do more stuff.
Of Knuckle Up or the original?
The original.
I wouldn't know. But the bad guy in Knuckle Up was Charles Napier, who played bad guys in a lot of 80s movies. He also, let's just see. So he's in The Silence of the Lambs. He is in the first Rambo movie. He's also in one of the Austin Powers movies. Like he's done a lot of stuff. He's a character actor, but I shouldn't say he's a bad guy in all of them, but he plays he's done a lot of different stuff. So Charles Napier, Jack's his name. What's his name? Donal Logue is in it. He's one of the kind of henchmen of it. He is now on like NCIS and stuff like that, or like CSI. Hold on, I'm going to look up his like IMDb page right now just to make sure.
If that's the case, he's moving up in the world.
And he's been on it for a number of years. And actually, Donal Logue, I mentioned, he's been in a bunch of stuff since. He played Harvey Bullock in Gotham. Yeah. So he's been in a lot of stuff. I remember recognizing him, like, oh shit, I know him. So he's in this movie, and then also Vincent Chevalier, who was a magician, but he's passed away since. But he was in the James Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies. He's the doctor who like killed Paris Carver. It's crazy though. Like, and I mean, none of these character actors are like huge now, but like I recognize Donal Logue and I recognize Jack Napier. The Native American girl, Joe, was played by an actual Native, like at least part Native American actress named Crystal Lightning.
Oh,
I know that's
what a name. That's awesome.
I know, right? So that movie is. This is the only comment I'm going to make on the movie, because the whole premise is basically they find evidence that shows that the waste management company is like knew the issues, like knew what they were doing was going to kill people and did it anyway. That's pretty much the whole premise of the movie. So the thing about this movie, and I just watched Knuckle Up. I just watched Kickback today. I watched Knuckle Up somewhat recently. The levels of violence that adults are willing to inflict on the kids in Knuckle Up specifically is astounding. Like in all the other movies, they find some way to make it seem a little bit less like dark.
Yeah.
Because almost always they're fighting faceless ninjas who don't really have characters, or faceless like mafia men, or just random bad guys, or they're fighting like dumb dipshits.
Yeah.
You know,
actual idiots.
Like actual idiots that don't know what they're doing, and they kind of like, they never seriously are able to even attempt to hurt the kids. And by the time they are, it's because the kids have fucked with them for like 30 minutes straight, and like Home Alone style.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're angry now. Mm-hmm. They do that. And so that you kind of have a little bit of suspension of disbelief in the original and in Kickback. In Knuckle Up, the movie opens with a fight in a pizza parlor where a dude whips out a butterfly knife on a kid.
I forgot about that.
He whips out a knife and he's ready to stab a child.
To be fair, in the other movies, they have actual swords.
Yeah, but it still feels like it's like, you know, they're fighting.
There's more
ninjas.
malicious intent.
There's
there.
more malicious intent in this, where it's like a random dude in a pizza parlor. Well, he's a character. That's why. Like you're more inclined to like write it off in the others, even though it's just as more so insane. Like you were saying, it's a dude with a sword trying to swing it at a child.
Yeah,
like it's fucked up. And then later on in the movie, they're escaping from the waste management facility after they rescue one of the Native Americans who was kidnapped, and they're trouncing. They escape through the sewer, and the bad guys see that, and they're about to climb down. The one bad guy goes, "No, hold on, I got a better idea." It cuts back to the ninjas, you know, escaping the sewer. Cuts back to the bad guys dumping gasoline into the sewer.
Yep.
Cuts back to the ninjas trouncing through it. Cuts back to the bad guys lighting a match and throwing it into the sewer, and you literally see them jump out of like the aqueduct or whatever, like the sewer duct, and just geysers of flame shooting out past them. I'm like, they were just trying to literally burn children alive.
No, the TV show Gravity Falls. There's a moment where the great Uncle Stan, he's reflecting the sun off his watch, and it's going towards his very annoying child, and he goes, "Yes, burn the child." And
only this will actually.
That's where my mind went.
This is like that times infinity.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Burn
the child.
The
literally.
only thing I will say as like the final thoughts on Knuckle Up was that, without, like, once again, I would love to do a full. Actually, listeners, if this is interesting to you, and it's not going to be video game related, but if you would listen to like a rewatch series of just like 3 more episodes of this with my brothers and I, let me know, because we will do it.
We will do it.
We could do one of those newfangled reaction videos.
I know, right?
I'll do it for 3 Ninjas. I'll do it for Knuckle Up. I'll do it for Kickback. There was nothing on God's Green North that'll.
No, you're doing it for me. No, you're doing it.
What's the matter? Are you scared of Hulk Hogan and a dominatrix?
Yeah.
Does that bother you?
I just didn't like the movie.
And believe it or not, listeners,
I really didn't like the movie.
Everything we're saying is true. There is Hulk Hogan is in High Noon at Mega Mountain, and there is a dominatrix.
Yeah.
It is wild. So and
I'm not going to make any comment on the dominatrix, because if I do, his podcast will get banned.
Oh no, it was awakening for me.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like looking back, so many things make sense. For me.
You're not wrong.
For me, I don't know about Josh. We haven't had this talk.
We haven't had. No, but so the last thing I'll say about Knuckle Up is that there's a moment where after they bring back like the the tribe member of the Native American tribe who has evidence of the evil doings of the waste management company. They're doing like a ceremonial dance around a fire, and this very religious thing. And I remember as a kid, I loved this scene. As an adult, I'm kind of like, this is weird. Rocky and Colt basically do like, hey, let's show them our dance. And they have this like remixed Native American hybrid song. And I genuinely am like, is this culturally sensitive? Like, I don't know. Like, cause they're partaking in the culture, but at the same time, it's like they're making it for themselves. But if this is a religious ceremony, it's kind of inappropriate to just go in and do your own thing.
Well, it's,
I don't
the
know.
issue is it's very clear a white dude wrote this scene. Like, this is how a white guy in the 90s views like racial relations getting fixed.
This is how he's bringing them together.
I mean, at least to be fair, Rocky, Colt, and Tum Tum never had any. There was no animosity. There was no relations that needed fixing between. They didn't make it about this. They just made it about. They didn't make it about that. They just made it about how like this waste management company.
Right.
The crazy thing is like the mayor of the town is on the company's payroll, so he's just a stooge. Like it's this really like mafioso style movie. It's strange. Well, so was the first one kind of. So the last one we're going to talk about is High Noon at Mega Mountain. Before we go, the last one, before we talk Kickback in earnest, because now we've already gone 30 minutes on these first. It was bound to happen. This might be like a 2.5 hour long episode. We'll find out.
Well, also like you can cut what you need to cut.
There's going to be a couple
anything
things.
doesn't work.
Oh, it's going to be a pain to edit, I bet. But
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're welcome here.
So High Noon at Mega Mountain, the whole premise is I legit don't remember the story other than that the three ninjas, completely recast in this movie, are going to a theme park called Mega Mountain, which, by the way, it's not the name of the park, but that park really does exist.
Really?
And I think it's in Colorado. I looked it up.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it.
What I do remember, which I just remember now, they're like Power Ranger style.
Yes, Tum Tum really liked
Yeah.
it. And Hulk Hogan was the leader of them.
Yeah.
And Hulk Hogan was the leader of them.
And they're doing like a live showing at
Yes,
that park.
that's why they were going. And I think it was like Tum Tum's birthday or something like that.
Something like that.
And these bad guys come in and take over the park because I think they just want money.
Yeah, they
And
just want money.
They want money, so this
one-
is the plan. We'll take over the park.
And once
get money.
again, big name actors in this. Lonnie Anderson, who was famous for WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Hulk Hogan, who's Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
And then Jim Varney from Ernest.
Right.
He's in this too. So it's these big actors in this dumb fucking movie, and I don't know why they did it. And it's just an insane movie, and I kind of want to rewatch it now.
Yeah,
because it
same.
seems like it's the worst out of all of them.
It is.
Though
Why you think I'm so adamant about not seeing it again?
Oh, you're going to see it.
I'm going to be duct taped to the chair. Let me out! Let me out!
Oh,
You'll
we're
have
gonna
my eyes duct taped open.
We gonna make you watch it. So that's in a nutshell the other three movies in the series, and we are going straight to the third one. It is kind of weird to technically do a deep dive in only the third one, but
it's the only one with
it's
the
the
game.
only one with the game. So I got to find some way to do this.
And this is a gaming podcast.
And this is a game. And like I said, genuinely, if you listeners want this, hell, maybe I could put. I'm always hesitant to bring guests on for the Patreon shows because I feel weird asking people to give their time for something I get paid for. Even it's not a lot.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of. I don't have a lot coming in through Patreon.
So
but I
our
still
check's
feel
coming
weird.
in the mail, right?
Yeah, it's 2 cents.
Oh, yes.
Got them 2 cents.
Two more cents than last time. High five. I'm gonna.
So let's dive right into Three Ninjas Kickback. Let's do a stunt kick into Three Ninjas Kickback. So
these old knees.
the overall premise of Three Ninjas Kickback is that you find out that their grandpa Mori Shintaro was when he was still in Japan as a young student of learning
young
ninjutsu.
lad.
Even though none of what they're learning I think is actually ninjutsu. It's just straight up like karate or some unknown form of martial arts
Yeah.
that they call ninjutsu. I shouldn't say unknown. I'm sure it's an actual martial art that I'm just not well
Or
versed
just
in.
a hodgepodge of,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
but he's competing in a tournament, and it's to win this dagger. And there's a whole legend about this dagger and another and an accompanying sword.
Yeah.
And it opens, and they're the keys to this cave of gold. And his opponent in this tournament wants the dagger so he can get to that cave of gold. And even though he loses, he tries to attack. After he loses, he tries to attack their grandpa. He tries to attack Maury, and he cuts him on the face.
Yep.
And he runs away. And then it's been like 50 years since then.
And he's
now,
never forgotten.
And he's never forgotten. And now, 50 years later, Grandpa, this is one of my first notes too. Grandpa wants to give the dagger to whatever, 1994's champion. And I'm kind of like, why now?
Yeah.
What is so special about this year that now you want to give this dagger?
And I wondered the same thing. The way he described it made it seem like it was a ceremonial thing that this happens every 50 years or something.
Maybe.
Like
they never explain it like that, that makes sense.
Well, that's what I said. The way he said it made me think.
Into the mic.
And I'm talking to him. When what's her face? Miho?
Mio, yeah.
Mio. When she gets the dagger, he says to her, I hope that you'll present this one day when you are an old master, or
like years later to another champion. It just seems arbitrary. It feels like it's very strange. So the opening of the movie, this is where the conundrum starts. You know that you find out that Koga is back, and he's trying to get the dagger for himself still.
Mm-hmm. He's already got the sword.
He's already he breaks into a museum once again, looking very agile for a man as old as he is.
Yeah, and hang glides off the fucking roof.
Yeah, what a badass. And
he planned that in advance. No one noticed.
I was genuinely not sure where they filmed that hang gliding scene, because when you see him jump off the roof, I mean, I don't know what Japan looks like at night, but it looked like California to me. I'm just saying.
Could have been.
Well, you know what? Maybe the museum was in California. I don't know. It could have been. That wouldn't have made any sense because he was still in Japan for the whole movie, but whatever.
There's a lot that doesn't make sense. Moving on.
There is.
You will mention this.
So
I believe.
The big conundrum now is that Grandpa wants to go to Tokyo to give the dagger, and he wants to bring the boys along so that way they can continue their ninjutsu training. Well, this wouldn't have been an issue if the baseball team, they're part of a baseball team that their dad coaches.
Fucking baseball.
And
subplot.
the championship game gets postponed, and we'll go into why. It's a whole scene. Mm-hmm. It's a whole scene.
It's something.
And it gets postponed to the next week, which is when Grandpa will be in Tokyo. So they have to make the choice of either going to Tokyo or going to Japan. And they ultimately choose
going to Tokyo or playing baseball.
Sorry,
Tokyo or Japan.
One and the same. No, go to Tokyo or go play baseball. And they ultimately choose to play baseball, but we're going to put a pin in the storyline right there because we want to backtrack just slightly. Now, Michael, you said off mic, there's a lot you wanted to say about specifically the umpire of the baseball game, but let's talk about this whole scene here. So let's basically just to surmise what happens so we can talk about specific moments. To surmise what happens in the scene, the bullies of the Three Ninjas world, because this bully actually shows up in the first movie as well. Yeah. Darren the bully.
This fucker with his rat tail.
With his rat tail.
Who stole a gold bike.
In the first movie,
In the fourth movie, steals a gold bike, then for some reason rides it.
They just acquired whatever. That's the first movie. So in this baseball game, he's the pitcher, and he purposely the whole team are they really paint this entire opponent baseball team to be nothing but pure evil. Yeah. There's no redeeming factor to any of them.
They all throw dirt in people's eyes.
They hit people in the head with purposely throw the baseball at people's heads.
When the bully. The pitcher asshole with the rat tail, when he throws the ball and it hits Colt in the head, the music, the score that was going. It was the most dramatic thing, and everyone's like,
And Colt breaks the bat over his knee because
Yeah.
Colt has anger issues.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a character
Wild
trait throughout
like a
all of
colt.
them. Wild like a Colt.
Colt.
And so then he goes to go fight him, and then he gets tackled by the catcher on the douchebag catcher who puts dirt in his helmet.
Yeah.
And they like to troll him. They like to fuck with him all the time. And so a whole like riot breaks out, and there comes the iconic line that you heard at the beginning of the podcast. Tum Tum yells, "Scramble!" Sorry, we can't yell it loud because my daughter's asleep, but he yells, "Scramble!"
And I've only messed up 3 times. So at
And
least.
everyone starts fighting, and Tum Tum fucking leaves his brothers to go get a hot dog at a hot dog stand.
No. He got the hot dog stand before the start of the game.
Oh, it was ice cream. It was
Then he
ice
met for
cream.
ice cream.
He times to get the ice cream.
Yeah.
At the fighting, goes gets the ice cream.
he's got an alarm on his watch that tells him when certain snacks are available, and then he goes
They
to get
really,
those snacks.
times it
I am
to get
kind
those
of
snacks.
grateful they didn't make him like an overweight kid.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like that would have been like one. It
Like, okay, we
that's
get it.
that's
Big
not a
kid
good.
likes to
That's
eat.
just that's not a good joke. Like
No.
it's such a bizarre
And
character
there's the
trait
kid
in this movie.
who eats all the beans and farts, and
That
like,
is a
people,
fat joke, and
and
it's kind
people
of,
faint when he walks by. Like,
That's-
Jesus, my God.
I didn't even see it as a fat joke. I saw it as a bad fart joke.
I mean,
both those
but
things.
usually movies kind of it's a cinema trope that they do that with.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But the umpire for this game, he is the most intense, angriest man I've ever seen. First of all, he always has a cigar in his mouth, and
Which is wild that he's smoking a cigar at a children's softball game,
yeah, it's
baseball
the
game.
90s. And I can't properly impersonate him now because it'll be too loud for the sleeping child down the hall. This is a disgrace. You are here to play baseball and big sport. But this guy though, I googled him. I didn't realize he's from that '70s show.
Really?
He's Donna's dad. Look,
What?
yeah.
Hold on.
He
Go back to that
plays ball.
Don Stark.
Yeah, Don Stark.
Go to his IMDb real quick. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure he's the mayor in Knuckle Up.
Oh shoot!
I am 99%
bring him
certain.
back?
I am 99% certain
Mel-
he's in Knuckle Up as well.
Wait,
Let
so,
me see.
so if that's the case, is the male also the umpire? It's like,
I am not
just-
sure.
Maybe.
if that's the case, that's funny. Because I'm just saying, the male has so little to do. He
I mean,
umpires
dude has a lot of
kid's game.
credits. He's still working.
Is he still working? Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like his most recent credit is 2022.
Oh, dang.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him, man.
He hasn't had like major roles, but like roles big enough, you know. Yeah, dude's
kept going.
working. But let's see here.
Well, anyway,
into the 90s.
So he was in that 70s show. That's kind of awesome.
And no, he's
He-
not in Knuckle Up.
Yes,
Dang.
he is.
Oh, wait,
He's
he
the
is?
sheriff.
Oh wait, I see it now. I see it now.
So the
Sorry.
sheriff's also the umpire.
Oh
So
my
the sheriff
God.
is the umpire.
That's
Go
funny.
figure.
There must not be a lot of crime that time. He must be very bored.
So
Like, yep.
the
something to do.
before the baseball game starts, Tum Tum is going to get a hot dog at a hot dog stand. And he asks for one with the bun and one without the bun.
Yeah.
Because he just takes the one without the bun and literally just eats it raw dogs it right into his mouth.
And then
And has it during the game.
and he keeps catching it instead of the ball during
He's
the game.
carrying the one with the bun inside of his catcher outfit.
And their dad's like, Tom, like, Michael, catch the ball, not the wiener.
Weenie.
Weenie. He's a
Whatever.
weenie.
The worst but the thing is, like, we're going to talk about this. The writing in this movie is at times actually not awful. I think
Yeah.
specifically there's a line at the end where Grandpa and Koga are fighting, and he's like, "When I scarred your face, I didn't think I would scar your life," or something along those lines. I'm like, that's actually a good
Yeah.
fucking line. And then you have lines like this where it's like, "Catch the ball, not the weenie." I'm like,
Yeah.
you could have just said, "Catch the ball, not the dog," or something like
Yeah.
that. They literally only said weenie because they knew it was a kids movie, and it's like when you say Heine, which okay, let's be real, Heine's a funny word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heine's a great word. Heine is a really funny word.
It is.
Also, sidebar, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton and God knows what, he wrote the music for Moana, and he put the word Heine in a lyric, and I will never forgive him It's like, you're way smarter than that, man.
way smarter than this.
Maui, I'm gonna kick your hiney. Are you fucking sorry?
But it's he uses catch the
Yeah.
ball, not the weenie. I'm like, that's just a joke that you wrote because you knew little kids would say, oh, he said weenie.
You're like spaz too.
That was a 90s insult.
Yeah.
Too. Using
Everyone's saying spaz. Good job, spaz.
So he asks when he gets those hot dogs. But so when he gets those hot dogs, that's when he asks about the ice cream truck, and he sets the timer on.
Yeah.
And he runs back to the game. And, the whole thing happens. It ends up getting postponed. Tum Tum abandons his brothers to go get ice cream. What a piece of shit. That's what Lisa DiMarino. Oh yeah, so Lisa DiMarino is I guess the resident hot girl only shows up at the baseball game. You never hear about her any other time.
What's the goal of the film until we get to Mio?
Yeah.
Who's awesome.
And I legit, like, this is the first time I've checked my notes on this now since we started recording.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie, Grandpa, and they kind of do this in all the Three Ninjas movies, Grandpa tests the ninjas in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And in Mega Mountain, by the way, do you remember the test in that?
No, I don't.
It's like a fucking Nickelodeon Guts
Wait, you're right,
obstacle
yes.
course. It's insane.
Obstacle course.
I'm like,
in the
where is
dark.
Grandpa getting this budget?
It's the blood money from
yeah,
the mafia,
from the mafia
fourth
when he
movie.
worked in the first. Yeah,
That's something we missed in the fourth movie. He knows Snyder. They used to work together before he left.
Once again, listeners, if you want this podcast, I will do it as a bonus.
Yes.
I won't put it behind the Patreon wall. I promise you. Just let me know because I want an excuse to do all four movies. But
You'll duct tape me to a tail to do Mega Mountain if we have to.
Yes, we will. They are fighting Grandpa, and then he jumps up into a tree, but when it cuts up to him, like, I understand it's a stunt double getting up to there, but when it cuts up to him, they actually put Victor Wong up there. I'm like, how the fuck they get Victor Wong? He's an old man. They put that old man up in a tree, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's probably how they did it.
One thing that I will say about this movie, and I noticed it specifically in the moments with Koga throughout the movie, and when especially in the flashbacks, the cinematography's not awful in this.
It's not bad.
Like, I'm not saying it's anything groundbreaking or like beautiful, but
It's a well-filmed movie.
And that's more than I can say for what Three Ninjas Knuckle Up and High Noon at Mega Mountain. Like, I was actually surprised. I was watching this. I'm like, this is actually not too bad. No. And also to get up to the baseball game, which I know is where we're at plot wise, the score is really good.
Yeah.
The score is really fucking good.
Yeah.
I got emotional at the end of the movie, and I shouldn't have because it's not a good movie.
No, but I got excited when that guitar came in for that home run.
Yeah. And we'll get to all the context of it, but the composer was Richard Marvin, and I was trying to see what he's done since, and he hasn't. He's still working. I think I looked on his IMDb, and I believe he had like a credit just like 2 years ago. And composing, obviously, not every composer can work at a breakneck speed because it takes a while to write. And a lot of times your projects are like years in advance. But he composed the music for the TV series Grimm.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, so he's done some big stuff.
Yeah.
So after the baseball game. We go after the baseball game, and this is where you kind of really meet Koga in earnest. Like, you kind of see Koga call his nephew. Now, here's a crazy thing. I got a lot to say about the nephew and his friend. So,
do I.
In the first movie, there's 3 surfer bro dudes who try to kidnap the kids. In this movie, there are 3 doofus guys, metalheads. That's what they're.
One literally can't count past 3. Can barely count to 3.
There are the 3 metalheads, and they're not trying to kidnap kids. They're trying to steal the dagger.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're going to.
And they're essentially the 3 Stooges, basically.
And you do find out that you do find out specifically the 3 ninjas live in California, because later on they ask about going to LAX, Los Angeles Airport.
Right. Yeah.
So they go to steal the dagger. Now, the actors who portray the 3 metalheads, right? One
idiots.
of them is 3 idiot metalheads. One of them is Dustin Nguyen, which he's totally worth.
Oh, Yeah.
Totally worth following on Instagram, by the way.
I know
but
that
he
name.
he was famous for being in. Oh my God! Why am I just blanking on the name? I feel so bad. It was a huge TV show. Hold on. It was.
His name sounds familiar.
Oh, 21 Jump Street?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake, I could not think of it. I was like, there was a movie that just remade it with Channing Tatum. Yeah. Well, not just. That's been a couple of years now. But yeah, so Dustin Nguyen is one of the one of the three metalhead douchebag surfer bros. And he...
Well, not surfer bros, they're idiots.
No, sorry, metalhead surfer... Not,
The
I keep saying
Surfer
surfer
Bros
bro.
Well, they're the fourth movie.
Yeah, they're the
also
first movie.
idiots.
But Dustin Nguyen's character is Glam.
Yeah.
His associates are Vinny
Yeah.
and Slam.
And
Yep.
Glam, Slam, and Vinny.
Vinny.
That sounds like a Bible verse. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
yeah.
Glam, Slam, and Vinny.
Well, and when Koga calls him to say, like, hey, get this dagger back, Glam opens mail, right? And this is like, oh, here's a picture of the dagger and Mauricio and Taro. How did Koga get these pictures? Now, and if he has someone in America who's able to scope out the place and take the pictures, why couldn't they fucking do it? Why couldn't they steal it? Why did he call his idiot nephew and his friends, who don't have two brain cells to rub together,
the
to do
only
it?
thing I can think of is that he won't be held liable for it because it won't be someone from his
I guess.
Now, the guy who plays
Glam is still his
Slam,
nephew.
the guy who
Right,
plays
so-
Slam, his name is Angelo Tife.
Yeah.
He is still acting. He actually his most recent role is that he's in Days of Our Lives. This is the
shit.
not the rom-com, the soap opera.
Right.
He plays Angelo Vitale in only 28 episodes from 2008 to 2021, and he does a lot of bit roles in other TV shows and stuff
Right.
like that. He's a dude with the crazy like long poofy hair.
Oh, yeah.
That's Angelo. And then Vinny
Who's
just
basically like an animal. He's a cartoon animal. That's
he's
his character.
Just insane.
He literally smelled the picture
You're like-
to try and find it.
I'm not gonna lie. As dumb as these characters are, the comedic, like the body language, like the physical comedy from
Oh, you
these
know, they're
actors
good clowns.
are
They're really good clowns.
brilliant. Their physical
Very good.
comedy is amazing. Specifically, Angelo, the guy who plays Slam.
Yeah.
Like the guy who plays Vinny's fine. Dustin Nguyen's really good. Specifically when when everyone else is in the house looking for the dagger, he's outside trying to be a metal singer, and we have quoted this line numerous times. And you know what? I'm just going to play the clip of it right here.
Where's my fish? Where's my fish? It's dead. I gotta get a new fish. Where?
And the line, we just can't. Where's my fish? Where's my fish? It's dead. I gotta get a new fish. Like, it's in all honesty, that is fucking brilliant comedy. Just what? It's so. I don't know why I love that line so much. It's so dumb, but just his voice with it is just absolutely brilliant. I love it so much. So the kids pull another Home Alone on them and
Right.
kind of scare them off. And once again, it's that whole power fantasy of kids beating the shit out of adults. Though I will say in every movie, the actor who plays Rocky and then the actor who plays Colt, you can kind of buy them beating up the adults.
Oh, yeah.
Tum Tum, you
No
never
way.
do.
No.
No
You know,
way.
it's not even just because of his size.
because you don't see him do it too often.
Well, that's why all of his attacks are all the goofy ones. Like he bops someone in the head with like a stick. He doesn't do a lot of punches or like
Throws his jelly beans.
He throws his jelly beans, or at the end, we quoted this one all the time. And like midway, it's towards the end of the movie, he takes out a guy and he goes, yeah, 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 yeah. It's it's really fucking dumb. So they fail at getting the dagger, but they know where it's at. And I adore Glam, Vinny, and Slam. It's just, it's so dumb. So
It really is.
the grandpa goes, so they've made the decision. The ninjas at this point have made the decision they are going to play baseball and not go to Japan.
Right.
Which understandably disappoints the grandfather and also disappoints Tum Tum because bringing back another food joke, he wanted to go to Japan so he could be a sumo wrestler
Because they get to eat a lot.
because they get to eat a lot.
Grandpa, do you know how much those guys get to eat every day?
He's so I think in that scene, I think the grandpa looked more disappointed at that than them not going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Tum Tum didn't really want to go. He just wanted to eat.
Yeah.
So, fun thing in thinking about sumo wrestlers. There was a cool video I saw where some guy was talking about like there's a perception in hockey that you don't have to be athletic to be a goalie. You can just stand there if you're a big enough dude. Could you just stand there? And they decided to get a sumo wrestler because they're like, well, let's give someone who get someone who's at least an athlete. Like, yes, sumo wrestlers don't have like a chiseled body, but they are nothing but muscle underneath all of that. Like, so
They are
incredibly
fat
strong.
and muscle. You kind of like me and my friend Colin. He's big like that, but he's really strong.
So they got a sumo wrestler to lace up in pads and goalie pads, and they put an enforcer to shoot against him. Not someone who actually has an elite NHL shot. Enforcers, as you know, don't really have great. They can shoot, but they're not. Elite
they're
shot.
not sharpshooters.
Yeah,
dude, like scored every time. Every time, and it's honestly incredible how good goaltenders are once they know when they're good.
You have to have really fast reaction time because that puck's flying and you have to block it while everything's happening around you.
So Grandpa goes to Japan. He flies to Japan, and I was very curious how Glam Slam and Vinny, GSV got onto the plane because you see them hiding in the lavatory, and it's like, how the fuck did you sneak on?
Yeah.
I know this
no
is
one
pre 9/11, but still.
Well, and that was the only excuse I could think of is pre 9/11. It was way easier to get onto planes. It's true.
It's very true.
I listened to Conan O'Brien's podcast, and he had Molly Shannon on. Molly Shannon, who, if you remember, guest starred on Scrubs, and she was
also on SNL. And stuff like that.
Well, and that's where she came from. She's brilliant. But she was telling a story how she and her sister in like ballerina tutus, based on like a bet that her dad gave him, which he never thought. He was like, "You girls just get out there, take a plane," and he was like, "Okay," and they actually took him up on it, and they went to the airport and said like, "Hey, our sister's on that plane. Quick, say goodbye." And their little tutor was like, "Oh yeah, sure, sweetie, go ahead." And they went onto the plane, found empty seats, and got on the plane to New York, and then they walked around New York City.
Wow.
Yeah, they snuck to New York.
Wow.
It's doable. Now, 3 fully grown men who don't have that cuteness factor, I don't know how well they could sneak on.
I like how they call it out. Dustin Glam, his hair is awful.
Yeah.
It's not because the actual style is very 80s and 90s, like that would probably fit in with the time, but it's the blonde, like it's bleach blonde.
Right.
Bleach blonde hair.
It's kind of nuts. So Grandpa goes to Japan. The 3 morons rear end him in a car, and
Accidentally. Too. They didn't plan that.
That's the weird thing. Like, I'm never sure about that because then they if they didn't do it on purpose, how did they know perfectly? Like, all right, let's go get his stuff from the trunk now while everyone's distracted.
Because it seemed like an accident, but it also seemed very on purpose.
It was. I will say, Victor Wong's acting in that moment isn't great because when he gets hit, he lurches back and automatically holds his neck. He goes, and I'm like, oh, so I remember Grandpa hurting his neck, but I didn't realize they made it that explicit in the movie where Grandpa literally like launches himself back, which makes no sense because he would be jolted for it, but launches himself back and is like holding his neck while doing it. It's very surreal.
Well, and one thing I will say for that, I wouldn't even call that bad acting. I would call that bad directing, because for those of you who don't know, I'm an actor. Hire me if you can. But no, I'm an actor, and actors put a lot of trust in their directors. You know, they're the same ones that will say things like, "Oh, I don't know, Christian Bale, that Batman voice is perfect. Keep it that guttural forever. No one will make fun of it." You know, So, for that scene, a director obviously saw that. Okay, it's like, yeah, do that, dude. React that way.
Perfect example as well. I've been listening to a podcast all about the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And I've said it numerous times. I think George Lucas is a brilliant world builder. Excuse me. Not a great writer for dialogue. He's a great writer for everything else, just not dialogue.
He's a great idea guy.
He's a great idea guy. And he's not the best director, because you look at the performances from Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, and they're all very bizarre.
Yeah.
And both of them have put in good performances in other movies. Obviously, Natalie Portman even more so.
Right.
But I digress. So Grandpa gets his bag stolen. Now, little do we know. I mean, actually, the audience knows, but they don't know at the time. Grandpa and Tum Tum got their bags switched.
Right.
So Tum Tum is heartbroken because while they have the dagger Grandpa wants to give to the tournament member, Grandpa has all his ding dongs.
Ding dongs. Which is candy, by the way.
Just can't. Yeah.
Just in case anyone's confused.
It was such candy. He's so concerned about his ding dongs. It's just wild. So when the boys get a phone call from Grandpa and find out what happened, they decide to fly to Japan and give him back the dagger and also check in on him, because they specifically, the reason they're so concerned is because he describes specifically Glam, who they saw at the cabin.
Right. Yeah.
So I will say that's actually at least pretty decent writing, because it's not just like, why the fuck would they? I mean, yeah, they're worried about him, but like they would tell their parents and their parents could go do something.
Yeah.
But now that they know the guy who tried to attack the cabin that they fended off is there, it's still outlandish, but at least it has some, like, I can understand that. Now, the way they are able to, since they have their grandpa's bag, they have his credit card, the way they are able to trick the stewardess or the person on the other line, or by the airline, to get the tickets into actually selling them the tickets with their grandfather's card is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So you guys go. One of you guys want to explain it?
Yeah. So, they
People
call a lady, and one, they have the craziest telephone in their room that I've ever seen.
It's a trophy.
Yeah,
with like
baseball
on the
on it.
bottom, and yeah,
And like what looks like a baseball on it.
Watch the movie; it's interesting. And they read off the card numbers, like and the lady's like, okay, great, and now I just need your grandfather to like authorize this. May I speak with him? It's like, sure. And they take the voicemail that he left them. Oh no.
They take the
phone call that they had with him that I guess they recorded.
Yeah,
somehow.
they somehow record it, but they don't ever show them recording it. So you don't really know where they get the recording.
They just say, we have this recording.
And so they play bits of his recording that kind of match up with her questions. And
then they insult her with the bits.
Yeah. It's like, you witch. She's like, what? What? But no, before that though, oh God, when they were like, oh, the plane leaves at XYZ time, or whatever. It's like, oh, but we'll never be ready in time. How are we going to do it? And then Rocky says, well, you've heard of ingenuity, right? Well, this is ninja-nuity. And all it is them getting ready.
Running as fast as fucking possible.
They just sped up the speed of the camera.
They just
the filming.
It's fast-forwarded. That's all it is.
Yes.
It's fast-forwarded.
Oh my God.
And then they get in the car of the one Sikh guy, and then he drives breakneck speed across LA.
I thought that was a little racist.
Oh, it 100%
to
was.
Put like the
100%.
crazy Indian dude. It was just unnecessary. Like, why did they have, like, if he was a character in the rest of the movie, fine, but they decided to make this one random Indian dude incredibly insane.
And they had like weird, maybe Indian music playing in the background, like
yeah. It's so this
the only thing they got right was the turban.
This movie
keep that in mind.
Incredibly, I said it before. They have a bizarre balance of like, let's have a really diverse cast and also do something a little culturally insensitive.
Yeah.
Here is the prime
That's
example.
the 90s.
Here is the prime example. They get to Japan. They help somebody, they actually the way they get to the hospitals, because they stop a pickpocket, they stop a purse thief, and it turns out that this rich lady, this rich lady's purse, and she's so grateful that she offers to take them to the hospital. And they stop the thief using their baseball skills. They chuck a baseball and knock the dude over. Now,
Tum Tum catches it with his glove.
Tum Tum instead of a weenie.
You're out.
So then it has a montage of them exploring Tokyo. Now this actually is Tokyo, or not Tokyo, but it is actually Japan. I did look this up.
Right.
What
Definitely
I
Japan.
did not know as a child, they were playing K-pop. That's not Japanese music. They just played K-pop.
K-pop?
Yes.
I didn't realize.
Neither did I.
It's not even like
no.
In
K-pop
fact-
didn't exist here. Then it did.
But why would you play K-pop when they're in Japan?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's this bizarrely it's slightly racist where it's like, well, Americans don't like.
Although,
it all sounds the same.
As the kids say, the tune slaps. It's a good song.
It's a really there's 3 K-pop tracks in this movie. I looked them all up. They're all fucking great.
They're really
They're
good
all really
songs.
good.
I have to. One thing I noticed is they strike a balance between understanding the culture they're representing and not
Yes.
Yeah.
somehow.
100%.
Because there's a scene when they're driving through, the Japanese people are just bowing to each other randomly in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
over
each
and
other.
over.
Oh, it's because the lady,
I bow, you bow. I bow, you bow. I
the
bow, you
lady
bow.
that drops him off at the hospital is literally bowing to them while her driver is driving away.
Yeah, her head is through the sunroof in the car, and she just has like a blank, like a Judy from Bossing Say smile on her face.
Yeah.
Bowing
Other than the
and
smile,
bowing.
that I can kind of see because Japan does have a very polite culture.
It is, but there's like
But
I
I'm talking about
can't
I'm talking about one of the past driving by, not just random Japanese people on the street bowing to each other.
Like in circles.
In circles.
there's a bizarre it's the
That's like-
movie.
yeah, that's happened.
Now, and with that said, this whole movie, there's a lot of like Japanese and Asian actors in this
yeah.
movie. Now
Through the credits, it's like through the credits. It's not like they got random Asian people. They got Japanese people.
yeah,
They have Japanese
and I know
names.
not all of them are, but like
no,
it's still
but-
like that's really cool that
Yeah.
they did that, especially in the 90s.
better than some movies now have done.
Oh yeah, holy shit!
What was it? I think it was the recent Marvel movies, The 10 Rings. I forget the full name. Mm-hmm. They want to get an Asian actor, and they got a guy who's Japanese when it takes place in China.
Oh, okay.
And I
fair
always
enough.
find that weird too. I mean,
like-
in Ghost of Tsushima, I don't know how many of the actors were actually of Japanese descent who did the voice acting for
Right.
it.
Well,
I know it was all Asian, but I don't know if it was Japanese
In
descent.
that, since we're not really,
But
seeing
even
them,
so,
it's-
like it's
you
still
can-
important in my
yeah.
opinion.
It is. It really is.
But it also,
But
like,
you
I
can
wonder
make
about
the
the
argument
logistics.
that-
I wonder if it's logistical too. Like,
Yeah,
how
fair
many
enough.
are they able to get access to?
Yeah, fair
That
enough.
does that.
I have no idea though. I'm not trying to defend one way or the other.
But
I'm
yeah,
just-
so they go to the hospital.
They go to the
Yeah.
hospital. Now, the nurse in this movie. Do you remember her name?
No.
No.
I
Some of us do
can't.
speak English.
Oh yeah. So before
Listen,
before
title.
the ninjas get there, the nurse is really abusing Grandpa, and I know
Yeah.
Grandpa is being passive aggressive towards her. He's being kind of a dick,
Well,
but
he's like, well, this witch,
yeah, he calls her a witch, and like now
this
here's
dragon faced.
But here's the thing.
Well-
Here's the thing. That doesn't justify her reaction at all. She so Grandpa has one of those neck bracers because
Yeah.
like he hurt his neck in,
Right.
in the accident. She grabs him by the neck bracer and twists the neck bracer to bring him closer to her. And I understand Victor Wong wasn't actually injured.
Yeah.
But like that's
a really
fucking-
abusive
That's
nurse.
really insane.
And then she's like purposely cracking his
Yeah.
his
Well,
stuff in the most
and
painful
then
way.
after the kids, meet up with him and leave, and she's like, here's who we give to our most difficult.
Well, no, he goes Nurse Hina maybe what's her name? Like if I'll let you use me as a pincushion if you can help my boys get to
Right.
Koga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the town name is the villain's name.
It is Koga, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's Koga.
That's what I thought too. So they go to Koga and so she goes, I would be glad to. It's the end of my shift anyway. And he goes, oh,
Yeah.
thank God. And she goes, Nurse Shibuya will be taking my place. And it is very clearly a man with fake boobs.
Yes.
Was enormous.
Who's fucking gantic.
We got like a
Glenn Chin is the actor's name. Glenn Chin, who plays Nurse
I shouldn't
Shibuya.
laugh at the last name of Chin, but it's just because that's not very.
Oh, he passed away in 2018.
Oh, no.
Now I feel bad for
He's a
kinda
Chinese actor.
Now I feel bad for laughing.
Sorry, American actor of Chinese descent.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of a bummer because like he's memorable in that scene. That scene is
that
insane.
is hard to forget, and I'm gonna bring that up later when we talk about the game because that's something I
Oh,
noticed in the
yes,
gameplay.
you're right. You're right.
Oh, I didn't even get to see that in the gameplay port. Full disclosure, I own the game actually. I do own it for the Sega CD, but I didn't get to. I never got very far in it, and I was literally doing yard work all weekend, and I was at a wedding earlier in the weekend, so I had just enough time to watch the movie, and that was about it.
You know, I and Matt the same. I just watched clips of the game online and just saw the
found-
different levels.
I found a one through online, just watching the whole thing. It was literally half an hour.
I'm very excited to hear about the Nurse Shibuya thing in the game when we get to it.
But yeah, so there's no
Nurse Shibuya.
Also that note for some reason knows kung fu or karate.
Because everyone there does, apparently.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course.
Just like as a demonstration, she brings in one of those tables in the
that you like slide underneath the patient's bed, you know, and just destroys it. It's freaking wild. So they go to Koga for the tournament, and that's where you get the second K-pop song, which once again fucking slaps. It's really good.
all the music in here.
It's honestly really good. The soundtrack and the score is way better than the movie deserves.
Good. It's a good score.
Like it's got this really hopeful, like it kind of
score-
reminds me of like almost any, I don't know how to describe it. It's really good though.
Yeah.
So they go to the tournament and they're watching all the different participants, and Colt decides to enter after one person
hurts themselves.
And so he wants to go in. Now I had a question. None of them speak Japanese, right?
I thought the same
So
thing.
how the fuck did Colt like just talk his way into
know.
the,
Yeah, because you
into
see
the-
I
him
noticed that
lean
too.
down to the one judge, and and say something to them. And the
whispers.
judge
You don't
nods
hear
his
any.
head.
You don't hear any dialogue.
Yeah. So it's like, how does he understand him?
How do you sneak past without
And-
knowing a Japanese?
And if the judge knew English, he would know that this wasn't the same guy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very weird.
well, the thing-
Even if the judge didn't know English, if Colt was speaking fluent Japanese, it's a completely different voice.
Yeah.
How did he talk him in? Whatever. So
I mean,
Colt,
maybe the voice. If the judge didn't know the voice well enough, you could argue, but he doesn't know Japanese.
it's still very
Also-
strange.
Also, his mask gets removed at the end of the fight, and everyone sees that he's not the same.
And they're all
guy.
okay with it.
Yeah, they're
And no one bats an eye at it.
So there's a trend in this movie that is both bizarrely inclusive. Once again, bizarrely
Yeah.
inclusive and pretty offensive at the
Yeah.
same time. There's a lot of attention drawn to the person Colt is fighting is Mio, a girl. And they very clearly Colt got beat by it. No, so Colt gets he loses, and she takes her headband, her like the head portion of her
Head
gi
covering,
off,
whatever,
her head
yeah.
covering of her gi off,
For Ninja Mask.
and he goes, a girl. Everybody, and Tum Tum goes, a girl, and Rocky goes, a girl. Like he's like, oh, I'm intrigued.
And in no other fight did people like, I've won. I take off my mask now.
It's only for this one, just because they had to show,
Yeah.
like, look, girls can do this too. It's like, well, no shit, but it's like it draws so much attention to it,
And throughout the whole film.
and they really
girl.
the end of we're gonna
Yes.
talk about it again at the end of the movie, the baseball game. So Mio comes back with them to America to play in the baseball game, and she catches the ball that saves the game for them.
Yep.
And and the ball is caught, and the announcer is, she's we don't have number so and so on number 21 on the roster. I wonder who, we don't know who their name is. 21's running back, way back, and it's caught by a girl. Like, why the fuck would they say that?
And I guess
That is like, that's the announcer announcing on the loudspeaker to the entire baseball arena, not arena, but a baseball field, that by a girl.
And like I can understand him being surprised because it seems like a mostly all boys league.
Yes.
But to announce it that way felt very strange.
Very forced.
I was going to say something I forgot to bring up in this. Like, what's the age? Are there age brackets in a Little League? Because this age range is going
It's
from
huge.
like 7 up to like 17.
Yeah.
There are kids from all over the fucking
Yeah.
place.
I mean-
there is no way they're allowing a 7-year-old to play with like 15-year-olds. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
From my own experience playing sports, it wasn't baseball, but I didn't play with people 10 years older than me.
It's insane. Like,
I'd lose in a heartbeat.
so so back to where we're at in the movie. So they try to talk to the Grandmaster, but Rocky's like, I'm sorry, you're speaking too fast. I can't understand what you're saying, which once again, I didn't know they could speak Japanese. Whatever. Writing that off into the fiction of this of this universe.
I don't think they can because they're learning it.
You're right. They can't because
They don't
Mio
understand
teaches
it.
them.
And Mio has to translate
Wait, I
for
don't
them
remember
for the
him saying you're
Grandmaster.
speaking too fast.
He's speaking to the Grandmaster. He's like, I'm sorry, you're going too fast. I can't understand you. He says that to the Grandmaster.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed that. Okay.
maybe-
So it implies that he knows what
Yeah.
he's saying, like, or that he
But-
could understand what he's saying if he went slower.
Maybe he knows enough to interpret. Maybe
I don't know.
like I know a little Japanese, so I can kind of pick out words and get the general meaning. But even then,
But you wouldn't be able to like go.
I'd be like,
Very different.
sure.
So then Mio comes in and translates for them because she can speak a little English, and they kind of, once again, 2 steps forward, one's like 2 steps forward, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where they make a lot of jokes at the expense of her accent.
Oh my god.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I swing my butt. You mean your bat?
Bat.
Yeah, that's what I said. My butt.
and the way Tum Tum says that bat.
Bat. It's very like.
And my bag. Where's my bag?
What accent would you say? Like, is that a Midwestern or is that like
it sounds pretty close to
my
to
bat
Midwestern.
and bag?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even know.
I don't know what
and then
accent it is.
and then they use that same. I mean, they make that joke throughout the whole movie, but they use that same joke again, where she says, because it's one thing like, oh yes, I can see how with her accent saying bat might come out as butt, but then later when she means to say we kicked butt, she says we kicked bat.
Like, so now you're just like,
That's just fucking
Now you're
lazy.
forcing it.
that's just a bad joke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moments
Or-
too.
or like-
Actually, and speaking of bad writing, when they're talking to the Grandmaster and Mio is translating, saying like, "Okay, come back in a couple of days or something like that when your grandfather is available," type of thing. When he's out of the hospital, Tum Tum. There's a shot of Tum Tum looking at the Grandmaster's feet. Goes, "Whoa, look at those feet!" And as a kid, I never understood why he did it. Now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's because the screenwriters needed a reason for the kids to realize when there's an imposter Grandmaster later in the movie because he's
Right.
wearing shoes and not bare feet.
Yeah.
Or not, well, you don't wear bare feet, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
He's
and
not
even
wearing
then, what's funny is that didn't strike me as odd as a kid. It struck me as odd now because I know why they did it. But I'm like, you couldn't have done that any other way instead of having him have his face be at this old man's feet. He's like, whoa, look at these dinosaurs.
Well, they
Look at
gave
these feet.
they gave him literally 6 other reasons too. It's not like they needed that one.
Yeah.
Because they meet the Grandmaster is like, hey, why didn't you speak English when we were at the tournament? Why didn't you
Yeah.
speak English to us? And then Colt's like, you're a lot taller. Or you seem a lot taller. Like,
he bends his knees.
oh yeah, he crouches down. He's like, oh, I shouldn't be this tall. Okay.
He's down.
I never understood that joke as a kid, and now as watching it now, I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah,
dude, wow.
It's bad.
You're the leader of this ninja organization that seems to be like a yakuza or something.
Yeah. What is he?
You would.
Ninja
He talks about
Yakuza?
having a private army as well.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Ninja yakuza.
Here's
That's
where
all
I
I can
train
think of.
my army who lose to children.
All these armies lose to children.
Yeah.
To these specific children. So they decide to stay. They are offered they get the offer from Mio and Mio's mom to stay at their house while they're in Japan,
Right.
since they don't have anywhere else to stay, which is still kind of fucking terrifying to think these kids traveled all the way to Japan and had no plans on where they were going to stay for the
Yeah.
night.
Well, and also
But
though, like
believable since it was like a last.
their
minute
grandfather
decision.
probably had arrangements made.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, couldn't
you
they
think
go to
he
the-
would have been like,
Yeah,
hey,
I didn't. Really
my
think of
grandkids
that.
stay there while I'm at the hospital.
Because they saw him already. They in
Yeah.
fact, that's how they get to the tournament.
So they know to go to the tournament.
It's just, it's so dumb. So
It really is.
then Rocky and then they're eating dinner at Mio's house, and Mio in the middle of, I thought this was weird. Mio is like, "Oh, I have a great idea to help you to help teach you Japanese. This is how I learned English. I learned to speak your language." They get up in the middle of dinner. Dinner's
Yeah.
not over. They just fucking
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, that's weird.
I thought that was really
weird.
strange. So then they're in a room, and then honestly, some decent romantic tension.
Yeah.
Decent romantic
cute
chemistry.
scene.
It's a cute scene. Rocky's nervous about putting on his glasses because he gets made fun of early in the movie. We kind of, it's not that important of a scene. We kind of glossed over
Yeah,
it.
he gets made fun of for having glasses.
He gets made fun of for having glasses. Then he turns over and he sees Mio also has glasses.
And they're
Oh
the same,
my
and they look the
God.
same as his. Oh my god! And then
See-
they nearly kiss after
Well, see,
mating for
and
5 days.
And I forgot about
Not
that.
even 5 days. It's
That-
they just met her
They just
that
met
day.
that day, and I forgot about this part of that scene, but because I watched it this morning as well.
Yeah.
and when he's like, I was like, fine, I'll put on my glasses so I can read. And he's reading, and then he looks up, and the camera pans, and it sees her smiling at him, also with glasses. I was like, come on.
I see. I thought that was adorable.
Like,
it's
it
contrived,
kinda
but
is.
it's adorable.
It's cute.
No,
but,
it's funny as an adult. Know what all I could think of, because Colt and Tum Tum right afterwards fall through the wall because it is a
Yeah.
Japanese house, so it's like the paper
Thin.
walls.
yeah,
And I'm like, they just broke their wall.
They broke the house.
They just broke the house. Like, I would be fucking pissed if I was Mio.
Oh, and they start singing "Rocky Loves Me." Oh, and it's like it's a Three Ninjas thing that they love to sing people's crushes at them.
Rocky loves Emily. That's from the first
Rocky
one.
loves. And, well, then earlier in the film, the resident hot girl from the baseball game, Lisa DiMarino, Lisa DiMarino.
Which is kind of in a similar cadence to Rocky loves me. Oh,
Yeah,
it's oh my god, some of the jokes in this movie are just fucking stupid.
ridiculous.
they are.
Yeah, so then they end up going back to it's weird. I don't know why. Oh, I guess they had to leave because the Grandmaster didn't want to take the dagger now because the tournament was still going on. He wanted them to come back another day. I think that was the reasoning for it.
He wanted Grandpa to present it himself.
Yeah, I
But
think-
so
Gucci,
what's
I think
weird
that's
is
the
that they
reason for
then
it.
go to the Grandmaster's house where they're expecting it to be the Grandmaster, and it turns out to be an imposter, but without Grandpa.
Yeah.
So
No,
where
well,
they go,
see,
that was for training. They'll go. They'll
oh
train.
yes, you're right. That was for
Yeah,
training.
because then the fake Grandmaster or Koga asks about the dagger, and they said, "But wait, we thought you said you wanted to wait till Grandpa was better." I changed my mind.
There you go. Yeah, that's what it was. So they find out it's Koga, the bad
Right.
guy.
Dun dun dun.
Go figure, right? Who would have thought? Not I. So they end up. Then this is where it's like the whole chase scene and everything. You know, they're running away from the bad guys. All like some ninjas, some
And they
Yakuza
pull
looking
swords
dudes.
on the children.
They pull swords on the children, and then Tum Tum's watch goes off, and they have to call their mom in the middle of this fight. Now,
I think the scene's kind of great.
it's
honestly.
a good scene. I don't have an issue with the scene. I have an issue with the parents telling them to call at 2 p.m. Japan time.
Yeah.
That would be midnight over on the West Coast. No, or sorry, either 11 p.m. or midnight. So Japan is either 12, like, so we're over on the East Coast.
Japan's,
so
I
it's
think,
either
14 hours.
12 or 13, depending on daylight savings.
True.
because I don't think they observe it. So it's
So smart.
because it's either 12 or 13 hour difference. Subtract 3 hours from East Coast time, right? So if it's 12 hours from 2 p.m., that's 2 a.m., right?
Yeah.
3 hours prior to that is 11 p.m. So it's either 11 p.m. or midnight. Why couldn't they just call? And that's 11 p.m. or midnight the previous day, mind you.
Yeah.
Right.
So why couldn't the boys call at, I don't know, 10 a.m. when it would have been like, well, hold on, let me do my math with this.
Yeah.
10 a.m., which would have been like 7 p.m. for them, like 7 or 6 p.m. My brother Mike right now is doing math on everything.
It's between California and Japan. It's a 16-hour difference.
16 hour.
No, it would be less because
I just Googled it because Japan, it says, so the time
zones are weird
The
for
time in California is
3 hours behind us.
is 6:39, 6:40, whatever. And then the time in Japan is 10:39 a.m. Monday. So they're in Monday already.
Yeah, so. Oh, yeah.
And yeah.
But so 6 p.m. to 10, that's.
The way I was
12
doing
hours.
it, the way I was doing
No, sorry.
6
Sorry, go ahead.
p.m. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is 12 hours.
Yeah.
Then you add 4 to that.
Yeah, so that would be 16.
16 hours.
But so wait, hold on. It's 6 p.m. Los Angeles is 10 a.m. the next day for Japan.
yes.
That doesn't make any sense because I'm sorry, it does. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it does because Japan, like right now, it's a 12-hour difference for the East Coast in Japan.
Right.
So if it's 10 a.m. Japan, it would be 10 p.m. the previous day for us, which
Right.
we're maybe it's 11 hours right now is the difference. But either way, because I said
Right.
it's either a 12 or 13 hour difference.
It's then 2:00 Japan time.
We don't need to think about it. Either way,
Okay.
the times that they say to call
Yeah.
make no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because
like 8 a.m. I don't know. Anyway, don't worry about it.
2 p.m. in Japanese time. So you said it's a 16-hour difference, right?
Yeah.
So 2 p.m.
So 2 a.m. is 12 hours. And then
hold on.
plus 4, 6 a.m. It'd be 6 in the morning in California at 2:00 in the afternoon the previous day or the next day in Japan.
No, because that's more than 6 hours. Oh, yeah,
Wait.
you're right. Sorry, you're right. It would be 6 a.m.
Yeah. 'cause-
And in the scene where they call, this has got to be so boring for the audience.
Okay, I figured out why we're making the mistake. Because we're going like from east to west, but it's kind of more like east to further east.
Yeah.
In a way. When doing the time zones are weird for people who don't know.
And this is a podcast.
It's
we can,
a podcast.
we can
about
edit
video
out
games.
whatever we like.
Yeah, so
But fun fact, yeah, time zones are
Okay,
very
yeah,
weird.
so
and
'cause, like, it's-
important
so,
to
like,
keep track of.
9:42 p.m. our time right now is 10:42 a.m. the next day. So that is a 13-hour difference, right? And that would make sense because California is 3 hours behind us. So you
Right.
add 3, so 16. So if it's daylight savings time, it's or whatever. I'm never sure when it's either daylight savings or not daylight savings. It's 16 to 15 hour difference. So if you're doing that from Japan, 2 p.m. Japan time, 12 hours prior to that is 2 a.m.
Should be
Right?
6 a.m.
So it'd be
Yeah, 6
no.
a.m.
No. If it's 2
yeah.
p.m., then it's 2 a.m.
And then
earlier in the
for
day. Then you subtract 4 hours from that.
So it'd be
you're
10
getting
p.m..
10 p.m.
No, but it's
10 p.m. the
but
following
they're
day.
the day ahead. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
2 p.m. Subtract 12 hours is 2 a.m. the same day, right?
See, but I'm going forward, and I'm not subtracting.
Well, even if you go for it, 12 hours would be 2 a.m.
No, because your forward 12 hours is 2 a.m. Then
Yeah,
then forward
But
4 more
but,
hours
Mike,
is 6 a.m.
if they're ahead of us, we should be subtracting the hours from their times because we're going back into.
Oh, yes. Because I'm thinking 2:00 California. Yes, you are
So
correct.
you're going.
Yes.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Hey, I was right up until this point. Now I'm wrong.
No, you were. I said it was in between.
No, I meant about the 16-hour difference. I was right.
The 16-hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right about that, yes. We got off topic there.
I'm only killing you now. Y'all were killing me 5 hours ago.
no, you'd know if I was killing you.
16 hours ago.
16
my
hours
knife
ago,
out.
yeah.
So I just thought it was. I'm so sorry, listeners. That was like a 10-minute tangent. I hope I'm going to be listening back to this, and I'm going to see how much dead air I'm going to edit out of this to make this at least somewhat entertaining.
But more of the story, time zones are confusing.
Yes. So they're calling in the midst of all this, and they're fighting the bad guys while they're talking to their parents, and there's some fun stuff happening. Any standouts for you in any of the fight scenes? Because we're getting closer to the end of the movie.
Yeah.
After the call where we put the phone in the guy's mouth, the guy still has the phone in.
Yes, I noticed that too. After
Yeah.
they
pointed
finished
that
the
out to
call,
me.
they just
And the guy doesn't take it out of his mouth.
he's just standing there. What that is great physical comedy right there. Absolutely amazing.
Just like, why did you leave it there? Why did you leave it in your mouth? Because
Wait.
he runs out the door.
I was about to
and
ask,
it's
did he-
still in there. It's still in there.
Well, after they pulled his pants down, because they do that.
Yeah, they.
Oh yeah,
and
they pull all the ninja
and they
pants
put
down.
up their dukes like after kicking their butts for a couple minutes, like and they go like oh no, and they close their eyes, and while their eyes are closed, the kids sneak up and they pull the belts and they pants them all because that's the peak of comedy, and then they run out laughing, and then here come these poor pantsed ninjas, and one of them still has the phone in his mouth that the child shoved there.
This movie is insane. What's even crazier too is that I shouldn't say it was even crazier. What's funny too is that when that scene was on, I was watching it earlier today. My wife was taking a nap and she woke up just in time to see them pantsing all the ninjas, and she's like, what's happening? Like, what's happening? It's just wild. So I love it. They do actually end up getting captured.
Yes.
They do end up getting captured. There's a cool scene though where they're running across the water on those like wood on those pads that float or whatever,
yeah.
and they have to run real fast and be fleet-footed. That was kind of cool. They do end up getting captured, and so does Grandpa. Grandpa gets captured trying to escape from the hospital, which the Koga tries to send Glam, Slam, and Vinny back at.
For some reason, I don't know why. It's not like he even likes his nephew.
He keeps giving them chances when he has people who are more capable. He keeps giving them chances.
Now, what my favorite thing though is so they fail at capturing Grandpa, and all their punishments are just like bullshit too. The Slam and Vinny, when they get punished for failing, it's like they get thrown into a pool, they get hung upside down.
Glam gets put on the treadmill and then runs really fast.
That's about it. It's very over the top and comedic. But so they fail and they end up falling out of a window straight onto a gurney and then get put into an ambulance and carted away. And if you notice, there is a voice off screen. You don't see who's saying it. It's some guy yelling, "Surgery preparations."
And the guy goes, "No, not me. No, me."
Yeah, they're freaking out. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, that's funny.
I just the line reading "surgery preparations." It's
I also
really
love how
great.
Butt scratcher.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I also love how it's the nurse who kicks them, who would bullying
like,
Grandpa. Who
You're
kicks
on
them
my
out.
floor, girls.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they dress up as nurses and put in fake boobs and everything, and the guy with the beard covers it with a mask.
It's something.
So Grandpa gets kidnapped from there, but not by them, by Koga's other bad guys.
By the main bad guy, like the main henchman, who has this like this ridiculous laugh that I can't replicate without making too much noise.
It's insanely.
Oh,
it's
God,
insane.
That's about all I
With
can
his
do
silver
without being
tooth
too
and-
loud.
He's
And
giant.
silver fillings too.
They show Grandpa to the kid, or they bring Grandpa to the kids, and once again the writing of just saying specifically this random object that I have that is going to come into use later. Colt's like, well, I have one ninja ball left, and we forgot the most important line in the whole movie. We forgot the most important line, guys. So this was a line. The reason it's the most important is because it's not actually the most important, but it's the most important to us. We, once again, with how this movie distorted our view of the world where we thought we could do things that we couldn't. what the line about making like visualize
The bullseye?
the bullseye.
Yes.
Do you remember the line word for word? I'm blanking on
close. It's
watch the bullseye as it grows in front of your eye.
yes. And when it gets as big as a melon.
And
that's when you
throw. And we believed that wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
we did.
That works. That totally works. You just gotta visualize it in your mind until it's as big as
and
a
when
melon.
you start to fucking hallucinate and it grows to the size of a melon.
It's in. I couldn't believe the reason why we bring this up now is because Colt uses that BB later on, and he does the whole, as big as you watch the bullseye as it grows in front of your eye, but it's the barrel of a gun.
Yeah,
that's
this
a
man
thing that
was
happens.
gonna
straight up murder
We'll
Grandpa.
We'll get there.
So Grandpa. They have to find a way to escape. Grandpa is sad that he can't. They're both heartbroken, and Tum Tum's like, "Well, Grandpa's captured. We have no hope." That kind of thing. And Rocky once again with ninjanuity. We don't have to escape. We just have to make it look like we escaped. And this is actually kind of clever.
Yeah,
that's actually smart.
They make it look like they escape. The guard comes in. They beat the shit out of him, and then they go and escape.
Right. It's smart.
And they fight their way through his army base of ninjas and all these other things, and they get up to the roof and they paraglide off and they go to Castle Hikone.
Yeah, and why those gliders were there, I'm not
along with all the
and
equipment.
I guess
and the fact they had time to put them on.
Yeah, and I guess because Koga also.
It's shown
we
at
saw
the beginning
him
of the
glide
movie
earlier, so it was like, oh, of course he has them on top of this building with safety gear.
Well, I honestly think that's pretty solid writing for this movie, considering they that's actually
fair.
good
Compared to
breadcrumbs compared to like, look at those feet.
Yeah, true. In comparison to that, it's quite an ingenuitive.
So
ninjanuitive.
They end up going to Castle Hikone. Grandpa is leading Koga through all the different places, and they put the sword and the dagger.
You have to get to the Cave of Gold.
To get the Cave of
Fabled
Gold
in the legend, and
they're walking their way through. The ninjas and Mio are following after them, and once again leading back to the bad writing where we may need this. They take the dagger out of the wall for no reason. Like there's no reason they would need to take. In fact, they honestly don't need the dagger
because they never use the dagger.
They use it again to open the door again because it's closing.
Yeah.
But it's
because it closed
it's starting to close and they have to put the dagger back in. So if they would have kept the dagger back in, it would have been fine. If they would have just left the dagger there, it would have been fine. So they go and they are fighting bad guys through this cave. And I actually wrote down, I think especially in this movie, the production design is really good.
The cave looks cool.
The cave looks really cool. The Cave of Gold. But I will say Koga's acting when he thinks the Cave of Gold is fake. He just loses his mind.
Well, and also in the cave, so there's a moment where they think the cave is a fake. That the whole thing isn't real because they get to the end of the cave and you see these skeleton samurai warriors.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, it's cool, but I'm thinking like, why are they there? Did they all together like decide like we're going to poison ourselves and sit here until we die? Were they killed and placed there? Did they just starve to death? And
that's true.
As they sat there, and it couldn't have been like an honorable, surrender like seppuku or whatever, because they were still in their bodies were intact.
And it's never really talked about in the legend.
Yes, I'm just like, why are they there?
The only thing I can think of, I just saw this now. It's like someone else poisoned them. They were having a meeting. Someone poisoned their drink.
I guess, yeah. Like, and you're sealed with the cave. But anyway, so then that's why he goes, said, no. And then all they had to do is move the curtains.
Yeah.
And like, there's gold.
He freaks out.
Of gold.
Or in the parlance of Three Ninjas, he spazzes out and he rips down a curtain only to reveal just a single wall of gold. It looks really cool, but it's not really a cave of gold when it's just a wall.
Yeah.
That's just
it's
a wall.
Really cool
It's
dragon.
a beautiful dragon carved into the wall, but it's a wall. And then Grandpa and Koga fight, and that's Koga pulls a gun on him there, and because he doesn't need Grandpa anymore, the boys make their way to him.
And he wants his revenge.
He wants his revenge for a scar.
He's not forgotten after 50 years, as I've stated.
But once again, though, I think this scene has instance of some of the best writing in the movie and some of the worst. Because I mentioned, I did not, 50 years ago when I scarred your face, I didn't think it would scar your whole life. Mm-hmm. I'm paraphrasing that, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah.
But there was another line, and I quote, I will win because you are controlled by greed.
You are controlled by your greed.
It's not great.
No.
Not great in the slightest.
I also noticed how they pull out the glaives that they have that were just in the cave that were just in perfect condition.
Yeah.
They're not deteriorated at all.
Not at all.
Everything's well lit. It's nice.
Well lit.
It's very considerate.
I actually like, once again, the cinematography in this scene's not awful. Like the light, the way the cinematographer lit that was pretty cool.
It was.
So this is where the boys catch up to him. The Koga pulls out his gun again.
But wait, they catch up to them by sliding down a slide that's connected to the cave.
Very clearly a slide.
And it's even funnier is that you notice there's like a burlap sack on the top of the slide that they all conveniently sit on. I'm like, oh, that's convenient.
And they definitely tried to mask it as part of the dirt, and it didn't work.
It didn't work at all. No. And that's when, but they get to Koga, and that's where Colt brings out his one ninja ball, which isn't a thing.
Yeah.
It's literally just like a ball bearing.
Yeah.
It's like a metal marble. And that's when he flicks it into the barrel. He does the whole watch the bullseye as it grows in front of your eye, and he flicks it into the barrel of the gun.
And you see a very poorly animated gun swell up in size in front of the camera.
And then the James Bond shot from the barrel of the gun as he throws it in before Koga fires it and it blows up in his face.
And speaking of James Bond, I've noticed a lot of the Three Ninja movies are very Bond-esque in the sense that there's a big bad guy who has a big over the top, almost comically over the top lair in a ridiculous location with an army. Yeah. Snyder has it on a boat, a little boat that has like his whole ninja studio on it, and he has a whole army of ninjas that Grandpa used to train. Deep story in the Three Ninjas verse.
Yeah.
And then in this one, this dude just lives in Japan and has a fucking badass like rooftop pool in the one scene.
Like he's loaded.
He's loaded. This dude has all the money in the world, but he just wants this cave of gold for reasons.
And sorry, speaking of like the bad guy in the first movie, I love how the kid's dad, he's an FBI agent, and after they take him down, the FBI's there cleaning up, and the whole moral, or one of the morals of it, was that Dad didn't spend enough time with his family, and everything was too much work. And when the FBI takes in this huge criminal, and there's like, all right, Sam, come, we got a bunch of paperwork to fill out, and there's your dad. He's like, you know what, Jerry, I think you better handle that yourself. By myself? Yeah, I got a family full of heroes that I got to take out for pizza. It's like, no, motherfucker, do your paperwork. You got work to do.
This is like
now's not the time.
Because if you fuck up that stuff, Snyder could walk free.
Yeah.
Dude, what if there was a remake of Three Ninjas where Snyder walked free and
because
now
he skimped on the paperwork?
Because he skimped on the paperwork. And then all the ninjas are adults now?
They have to come back together to beat Snyder.
Holy fuck. Is Snyder still alive?
No, but Snyder's old.
I don't know. Let me check. I mean, he's old now, but...
He's old. So they have to beat Snyder's son.
No, it's got to be Snyder.
No.
It's got to be Snyder.
And he's really good.
That's hysterical.
He's been genetically engineered to be a badass, even though he's like 80 now.
But anyway, I kind of want that real bad.
Time to make the fan.
I'm not sure if he's still alive. He was born 1947. I know that.
1940. Rand Kingsley is the actor's name who played Snyder.
He's done very little work.
I'm not
I wonder if he's mainly a martial artist.
That would make a lot, because he's Snyder in Three Ninjas and male patron in The Gardener.
Yeah.
From 1998, mind you, The Gardener. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to.
He was only in I think he was only in those two movies. Nothing else.
I'm very curious. I'm gonna try to look into see what he's been up to. In any case,
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
In any case, they escape the for no reason in particular. The cave of gold starts collapsing.
Well, it's
on
not
them.
collapsing because the gun blew up.
That makes no sense.
I know.
Oh my God!
it's a reason.
Seriously.
But the cave starts collapsing. They escape. The knife that they took for reasons now they need to have Tum Tum sneak through to get the knife back out so they can keep the door open.
So like,
And
no,
as-
the door's closed. They have to get it open again.
No, the door was closing. Tum Tum snuck underneath it, I thought.
No, it was closed. Completely closed. It closed after they took the dagger out.
Yeah, I know that, but how did Tum Tum sneak through underneath it?
Well, there was a hole in the bottom.
Was that all it was?
That's all it was.
Okay,
There
I
was a
thought-
hole
I
in
thought
the
it
bottom that got.
I thought
God loose when
I
the
could have
door
sworn I
opened.
saw the door
opened.
steadily closing. Maybe it was just. I mean, there was shit falling around them all the way, so
Yeah.
who knows? But after they get out, Koga then takes a sword. They take the dagger, but then he takes the sword and he throws it into it, so no one else can get access to the cave of gold.
Right. Which has collapsed, so they couldn't get to it anyway.
Yeah.
But that's very noble of him.
Exactly. And Koga realizes that a ninja should be free of all wants and desires, and it took me so long to learn that. They go back to America and they make it just in time for the ball game, of course. They even time it out where they said it's Sunday in Japan. It's like, but it's only Saturday over in the US. So then they can fly back. I don't know you don't know what time it is that they're
Right.
leaving Japan.
Yeah.
So, but they got to be fucking tired as hell
Exhausted.
considering all the
And
travel they
but
just
they come
did.
back. Oh, I'm full of energy.
Oh yeah,
They
they're all
slept on
full
the
of
plane.
that maybe.
That's all I can think.
So they fly back and they make it to the game, and the douchebag team are up to their own evil tricks again, but this time it doesn't work for literally no reason.
Yep.
It's not even like it shows them like thwarting the bad guys, the bad team of like, oh, we know this guy's going to throw sand, so we're going to block it.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
He threw sand in my eye, but it didn't work because I learned a lesson today.
I learned a lesson. Power through it.
Pretty much.
what
So
he does.
they do that, and then they end up winning.
Yeah.
But that, and once again, it cuts back to that scene I told you about where Mio catches in fact, it's the bully. Darren the bully is the one who almost hits a home run, but Mio catches it. He's like, you got it, and it's caught by a girl.
And that's so mad. It's like, yeah.
And
To be
then,
fair, he's mad because he would have won the game if he had that.
yep. And then Colt hits a foul ball, and then once again
Yeah.
the music you're talking about
Yeah.
when he misses the foul ball,
Oh, he falls to his knees.
it's so dramatic. It's so dramatic.
Everyone is depressed now.
And then he does the bullseye thing again with it this time, knocks it out of the park. They win the game.
And the funny thing is, the baseball, when he hits it, is the size of a melon.
Yes. I noticed that too. When he hits it, so when he hits the foul ball, it's a normal baseball. When he hits the home run ball, it is a giant fucking clown ball. I was so baffled. I'm like, why I didn't even think that it was because it was like him visualizing it as the size of the melon. I just thought like maybe they couldn't get the actor to hit it at this angle, so they just gave him a comically large ball to like launch off, so he could
But,
hit it no matter what.
It's symbolizing the size of a melon.
But it's so noticeable
Why?
because when he hits it, the bat bounces back a little bit, which wouldn't happen if it was.
I also love how his force bat breaks from hitting the ball.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
this one, which is a much larger ball because it's literally the size of a melon, like you said. I remember watching that just like earlier today, and I went, "Are you fucking serious? That's a giant ball. Why? I didn't even put two and two together with the size of the melon.
Yeah, that's the
Why?
reasoning for it, but it's dumb. It's real
I
dumb.
don't know why they thought that was a good idea.
I am flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I have no words. Okay, let's wrap up the movie and then we'll spend 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
talking about the game.
There's not much. To
There's
the
not
game.
much to talk about to the game.
You need to know about the movie to know about the game.
The
Pretty much.
movie is better than the game, and that's a low bar. That's a low bar, and it didn't make it over.
Okay, so they win the game.
They win the game, and then Darren the bully is like, "All right, I want to, round two,
Extra innings in the parking lot.
yeah." And
Beat these kids up.
they want to beat them up, and they're like, all right, fine. Colt's finally like, fine. You want to fight us? Pick any one of us. We'll take you on. And he goes after Mio. And I'm like, once again, one step forward, 2 steps back.
No, I have to say, I think this is 1 step back, 2 step forward, because he picks Mio, and then he gets punished for it.
But okay, you know what? That is kind of fair. Only because the reason it's a step back is because they're playing into like, oh, a girl doing a boy's thing, and then also it's the most bizarre thing because he's a dude who's trying to beat the shit out of a girl.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like treating the girl exactly the same as all the boys.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a bizarre combination of violence towards women,
And
but also
wrong, girl.
what?
No, just the way he talks.
It's almost like he's flirting with
Yeah,
her.
it's like, you ruined my home run, girl. You're gonna play a boy's sport. You're gonna play a man's sport. Play by man's rules.
I think he said boy, but
Yeah,
Did he?
it
I
was-
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still
the
an
same,
insane.
the same,
So the
same
movie,
point still stands.
the movie ends with Mio flipping over him, and then it gets to her go yeah, and just punching him,
And he
that-
goes, "Ah!"
and then it just
And then it
cuts to black.
yeah.
And the angle that she's hitting him from the way the camera sees it, it looks like it's gonna go straight up underneath the nose, like that kill shot that sends the nose bone into the brain.
yeah.
That's what it looks like she's about to do.
Oh, I mean, you never see Darren the Bully in any of the other movies.
Oh my God, she killed
She
him.
killed him.
She killed him.
We're
Rat tail no more.
there's a separate grave marker for his rat tail. So
Here lies Darren. Here lies his poor choices.
imagine if that's what we actually did, where you have someone's grave and then you have everyone's poor choices in a separate grave. Oh, that'd be wild. So that's Three Ninjas Kickback. That is the movie. The game is a lot less interesting than the movie, in my opinion. It's a generic side-scrolling beat-em-up where you can choose between one of the three ninjas, and you pretty much, it's kind of got an exploratory vibe to all the platforming, but it's not really a beat-em-up because the enemies don't take that many hits to kill.
No.
You just, it feels more like a standard platformer.
Well, in the way it's laid out,
up elements.
in the
I'd
way it's
say.
laid out, it almost feels like Sonic.
but
A
slow.
little
bit.
bit, just without the speed.
Yeah. And the graphics are it's not that appealing. Like the graphics in terms of detail look fine, but the actual like color palette was really ugly in my opinion.
The thing is, like the cutscenes where they like show the characters from the movie, like in a
Look pretty good.
full pixel art form,
Right.
look fine. They look good. One thing I noticed, I wish I double checked, but I think the weapons each of the ninjas had were based on what we saw them wield in the
Yes.
fourth
No,
movie.
Yeah.
it's different. Colt has a katana. I forget what the others
Some had those daggers. I forget their specific name, but those
size. Like,
no, not size. I know what those daggers with the fork kind of dagger.
aren't those size?
No, I don't think so. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't know the name.
Oh, you mean that are? Oh, yeah,
The three
yeah, they
point.
are.
They're size like that Raphael has
Yeah.
in
I
not
lost
three.
the sight. Sorry.
Yeah,
I can get it
yeah.
back. I can get it back.
Yeah, then it was those.
But
That never. I didn't
But
know.
yeah,
the name. And
and
then
they-
Rocky had the pole.
right, and they had
Bow
different.
staff, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And they had different. So like each location in the movie is a level, and the three bozos, Spam Fam, whatever,
Glam,
Vinny,
Slam, and Vinny.
you fight them multiple times, and like you pointed out, which I saw later,
They're dressed as nurses.
you
in
fight them as
in
the
hospital
nurses
level.
in the hospital.
That's pretty funny.
and then
Nurse Shibuya is a boss in the
Yeah.
in the hospital level.
there's a mini boss apparently. So there's a bunch of different stages. There's a mini boss in each stage. The final boss, of course, is Koga.
Yeah.
I did watch the final boss of Koga, and it's Koga. Excuse me. It seemed really lame.
Yeah.
It's just him jumping around, and there's not much
it doesn't
to it.
seem any different from the other game.
The game is actually pretty hard when you play it, but watching long plays, they make it look easy.
Right.
But the pattern for Koga just seems really simple, unless they just know how to manipulate Koga's pattern already, and I
Maybe.
just don't. I don't know.
I mean, probably the pattern's simple because this is an older game.
Well,
No,
that's not.
I'm gonna say, to be fair, some older
Mega
games
Man
some
games
really-
have tough patterns,
Yeah.
and they're much,
tough
and they're
patterns.
8-bit. This was a 16-bit. Now, no, go ahead.
And from how I can see it, this is the only one of the films that would work as a game, because the other ones, I mean, Mega Mountain maybe, but this one, there is a journey where the other ones are in the same place the whole time. Like, if any one of them lend themselves to a game, it's this one. It doesn't mean they should have made a game out of it. But
I mean, I think they should have, but it's a licensed property. It's very hit or miss.
right.
Yeah.
Now there is a difference between the Sega CD version and the Genesis version, or
Yes.
in the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah.
Sega CD version has an extra level, and it's a first person it's not a first person shooter, but when the hang gliders, when they're hang gliding into Koga Castle,
so it's
Castle
like a
Hikona,
fourth-person
it's a
kinda
first
hang
person hang glider, and you're throwing ninja stars.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
And randomly, other ninjas will
that was-
drop in from on the top of the screen, and you just punch them off the front of your hang glider. I'm dead serious. It was wild to watch.
I mean, that
love
actually
that.
seems like it'd be fun as its own standalone game.
yeah.
And Victor Wong recorded video for the Sega CD one, because there's specific, like it's his head like superimposed on certain
Yeah.
things, like just kind of almost like green screened
Right.
onto it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they used a green screen for it, but it's him, and it's him speaking. It's him doing
Wow.
stuff for the game. I remember watching it. I remember playing it on my Sega CD. I was like, whoa, they actually took the time to like put Victor Wong, like an animation of Victor Wong in here. The
He
only
seems
other,
like such a sweet man.
the only other thing I will say about this game is that the soundtrack is bizarrely accurate to the movie.
Yeah.
It's bizarrely on point to it. I've never
I didn't notice that.
I don't recall the music, but I'll take your word for it.
It's bizarrely on point, at least from what I remember.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to say every track was, but I was impressed with.
But very reminiscent of the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
like,
much
oh, this
so.
is clearly an 8-bit version of that one score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it. Like it's just a simplistic platformer.
It's there.
The coolest feature I could say is Colt. He could jump and do a flip and spin the sword while he flips.
Yeah.
That stood out to me the most of the whole game.
And that's just more of an animation flair than a
Yeah.
mechanic, So
Yeah.
there's not much else to it. Like, and that's why I figured like I couldn't do a full episode on this game, because there's not, unless we break it down level by level, but there's not a whole lot to talk
And then
about with it.
And then we have to play. And
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, no.
No way. All right, guys. So we are going to wrap up this episode. We are almost at 2 hours, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out. With all of that said, what are your final thoughts on Three Ninjas Kickback? Let's start with you, Matt.
barely passable movie that you can enjoy. It's the kind of movie that it's so bad it's actually pretty good.
I'm with you on that.
It is.
I actually think this is more. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, because
I was about to cut
it's
you
not
off.
a good. It's not a good movie. Just objectively speaking, it has good parts to it, like we've said. Some parts are like, why? But you'll enjoy it
I
just
agree.
by how kind of comically bad it is.
How much? If you like violence towards children, Three Ninjas is the movie
Have I
series
got
for
the
you.
film for you?
I got the film for you.
What about you, Mike?
I mean, yeah, it's not a good film. It's not a good movie. It has a lot of nostalgia factor. I was talking with someone else today saying I was doing this later tonight, and they said like, "Oh, I remember those," and we had a fun chat. Like they have a big nostalgia factor, and of the four of them, I would agree with you. This is probably the better one.
100%. Knuckle Up's
And
awful.
the lowest.
I thought that.
Yeah, and the bar is so low, but but no, there are fun parts, and honestly, a lot of the acting is decent. A lot of the main issues are the writing and directing.
I will
That's-
say they've never found a good actor for Tum Tum.
they have not.
ever.
Well, and because it's a bad part, and
Yeah.
and
I like hearing it from you as since you're an actor. It's like if you got cast in that kind of part, whether it was like take out the age factor of it,
okay.
it's still like
well, you know what? For example, I'll give you an example. Right now, as a favor for a friend, I have filled in for my friend of mine who is directing his first ever community theater show. And I don't do community theater anymore because I need to get paid. But I had this weekend free, and he had an actor that had to drop at the very last minute. So here I went on to do the show for him, and it's a production of Pinocchio. It doesn't matter that he's a green director. It doesn't matter that some of the actors are green as well. It is a bad script. It is a horrendous script, and there are holes everywhere. Character motivations don't make sense. Like, no amount of good directing will fix it. It'll make it more palatable, and while I don't think the direction in this movie is good, it helped make this script more palatable to a degree. And the acting, honestly, for the most part, is good. The parents are great.
Yeah.
The parents are really good actors, and even the kids half the time when they're not given weird,
when Tum Tum
funky
isn't
shit to
trying
say.
when Tum Tum isn't trying to be comedic relief, he actually has some good moments.
He does.
When
Like,
he's not going, let's modelize them.
Oh, I forgot that's his other catchphrase.
let's murder lies. Yeah, and like when he gets upset about missing his parents.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's sweet. It's well done, and
It's believable.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are redeeming qualities about this film. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone to ever watch if they're looking for a good film to watch. If they're looking for 90s cheese and a very obscure movie, then watch Three
This
Ninjas.
is
Any
fucking
one
a
of them, bring it
cheese-
on.
90s cheese delicatessen.
But yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, this is the 90s cheese that gives you a heart attack, but you still enjoy it as it's doing it.
It gives me the toots.
Give me the for me, I'm kind of with you. A lot of this is nostalgia.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't hold up. I will say I genuinely think the soundtrack for this is really good.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think the cinematography, while not like anything groundbreaking, is passable at the very least. Like, there's a couple shots where I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. I really like how they framed. And I'm no expert in cinematography. I just like, when some like Three Ninjas Knuckle Up just looks generic. This has a little bit of like, oh, that looks interesting. That looks unique.
I mean, any lighting that Koga is in when he says a dramatic line, that's a great looking shot. The dude looks badass.
I also really like the production design of this movie.
Yeah.
Like the Cave of Gold looks amazing. I honestly adore the production design of Grandpa's house.
Yeah.
And all the movies. The
The
house
set dressing is out of this world.
when people say that like a building or like an inanimate object is a character, Grandpa's house is a character.
Yes.
It is.
Because there's the loft where all the boys sleep up at the top there. Like, you kind of get the layout of his kitchen. You can kind of piece together the layout of his house from it. It's a really cool place, and I love that. Though I'm pretty sure the house that the boys live in, because I think you see it for like a split second, is different than the one from the first movie. But I'm
the
not
room
surprised
is still
by that.
the same.
Yeah.
But the room is still their room is also really cool.
That's what I was about to say, and it's explored much more in the first film because it's like Home Alone. But their room is another one which is also very much like a character
Yes.
in the movie, which is kind of neat. I wanted that room as a kid.
I did too.
I really wanted that room.
Because
I wanted that cabin.
because you could it would give you like it had that light that would alert you when your parents were walking up to you, or just
cool.
anyone, I guess.
So cool.
I have no idea how that worked, but they got it to
They
work.
have some type of motion sensor. I don't fucking know. Anyway,
When the dad's in the FBI and the grandfather's ex mafia or whatever.
yeah, there's a lot of deep connections in these movies. All right, let's wrap this up. That will do it for this episode of Still Loading. It's been almost 2 hours of ninjanuity of Three Ninjas talk. Mike and Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you would like to promote? Any social media you'd like to shout out?
Yes, I would. So yes, my name is Michael, and my Instagram is Michael_A_Koval, and come check out my my acting work that I post about. I'll be doing Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival this summer in Much Ado About Nothing. So if you're in Pennsylvania and feel like seeing old Billy Shakes, I'll be there. Yeah, that's all I got.
I feel like seeing old Billy Shakes.
Old Billy Shakes.
What about you, Matt? I know you. I know you don't have a lot of social
I don't
media
have
stuff.
a lot of social media stuff. I have a DeviantArt where I post some of my drawings that I do. So that's deviantart.com/cmanxv. I have a subscribe star. If you find my work and like it, subscribestar.com/cmanxv. That's pretty much it.
All right. And as usual for me, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StillLoadingPod on all of them. If you want to email me, you can email me stillloadingcontact@gmail.com. If you want to support the show, you can do so in a number of ways. You can give it a 5-star rating or review on Apple Podcasts or whichever podcasting app you use, because that helps more people find the show and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy, which is always nice. If you want to support the show monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/stillloadingpod, and for $1 a month, you'll get all the episodes a couple days early at a higher bit rate, as well as access to a patron exclusive Discord. For $5 a month, you'll get all of that plus 2 bonus episodes a month. So if you want to support me that way, patreon.com/stillloadingpod. And the final and most important shout out is the Bit by Bit Foundation. The Bit by Bit Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to put video games and video game consoles in the hands of kids receiving inpatient care at hospitals. So if you want to go support them, go to bitbybitfoundation.org and consider donating. And that is all I have for you. Mike and Matt, thank you once again for joining me.
Yep. Thank you for having us.
And I think altogether, to close it out, maybe we should scramble.
Scramble.
We can't yell that.
No, but just quietly.
Quiet yell.
Quiet scramble.
It's like 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Scramble.
Okay. All right. So 3, 2, 1.
Scramble.